All right. Let's try this again. Are we live? I do not know. Let us see. Check my phone. Apologies for the last stream. I thought it was a success, and I go to watch it, and there it is. I go to watch it, and my entire screen is cut off. So I put together this nice list to review, and I was only showing part of my screen, which is not very helpful. So yeah, welcome back to anyone who joined previously. I'll be going through the same spiel again, and welcome to anyone new to the stream as well. So yeah, this is a new piece of content I'm going to try to do every week, where I'll walk through, my approach to the MLS Fantasy round, as each round is different. Injuries, tournaments, what teams look good for clean sheets, all of that. Every round is different. Every round is exciting. So I just want to walk you through, my general approach to creating my team each week, and yeah, help you guys make the best picks. So I've outlined the steps that I sort of go through each week when building my team. Step 1, shameless plug, if you haven't watched it, be sure to go to my channel and check out the current rounds, player picks and tiers. I go through the, recommended keepers, defenders, midfielders, forwards, and captain picks. So give that a watch to, get familiar with the round for fantasy and, who I'd recommend. And then step 2 that I go through is, what matchups look good from a fantasy perspective. All right, so let's take a look. Let's go down to our lineup, or our matchups. I'm finally showing my whole screen, so this is helpful now. All right, so who do I like this week, or what matchups do I like? I like Atlanta versus Cincy. I like Columbus versus Portland. Definitely Inter Miami versus Nashville. Hey, Charles, thanks for the comment. Appreciate it. Welcome, everyone, joining the stream. NYCFC, I do like, versus DC United. And then Toronto, maybe. To stretch, but two bad teams. Maybe there will be a good amount of points. Of course, Houston versus Austin, as Austin is bad. SKC versus St. Louis. SKC is looking better, but still a maybe for me. Colorado versus Dallas, definitely. Dallas is not looking good. And then Seattle in that game, as it's a decent matchup with the late game. Not a huge fan of that LAFC versus Red Bulls game, at least from a fantasy perspective. And then, of course, you got your Galaxy versus San Jose. All right. So, yeah, you just want to get a good look at what the matchups look like. Who might I want to pick from a fantasy standpoint. And then step 3, I'll go through those matchups and try to identify, who are my locks? Who am I definitely going to be playing this week? So from an Atlanta standpoint, I like Almada. So I'll pick Almada. Columbus, on the fence still about Cucho. I'll hold off. Miami, definitely like Messi. I like Suarez. And I do like their defense this week. But I'm thinking I'm going to use it on a defender instead of... Don't want Campana, get off. Instead of a keeper, as, it's Gressel. I don't know if Alba will be playing. But, they got good chance of generating an offensive bonus, maybe an assist or something, not just the clean sheet, where your keepers are sort of just shoot for a clean sheet. So I like Gressel as well. These guys will be moving around the field on the bench and things like that. Those are just my locks for the week. I'll also probably call out Lennon as well. No, actually, not a lock. Toronto, no. Houston, definitely at least a defender as they're playing Austin. I'll go with Mikel Dos Santos. It's, just highest price, just so I can see what I'm working with from a budgeting standpoint. SKC, Houston as well. Can't believe I forgot Mr. Bossy. I don't know if he's a lock for everyone. I picked him up last week. I kept him on the bench with a 6. But yeah, I like him this week. They're playing Austin. I consider him a lock on my team. Seattle, no. Galaxy, definitely plenty of locks there. So let's go with Mr. Pooj, Paintsill, and Jovic. All right. So that's my locks for the week. So that's my step 3. And now I'll look at my strategy for the week. So when it comes to, getting the most bang for my buck with, going to keeperoos, auto-roos, switcheroos, who am I going to want on my bench? Who am I going to want on the field? What formation am I going to look at? So that varies week to week. And this week, you don't have a lot of good backup options for clean sheets. So I'm probably going to run maybe like Seattle on the back end. So yeah, looking at who I've got now, I like Lennon because who have I got? I just got Gressel and Dos Santos, so I need 3 more defenders. So I'll probably put Lennon and Gressel on my bench as they're pretty attacking. I still like the clean sheet chance, but I'm not too confident in it. So I'll put those 2 on the bench, and then I'll look at some Seattle defenders as well. So let's put those on the field. So I got Seattle. I like Roldan. I like Nuhu. One more defender. Who else do we got? Roldan, Santos. Oh, I'm missing Lennon. All right. So no, I forgot him. All right, so that's my defense. What's up, Adrian? Thanks for the comment. Appreciate it. Yeah, seeing what works. Hopefully this new live stream is helpful. It'll only get better. I struggled with my first attempt uploading this. The whole screen was cut off. I didn't even have this displayed. All right, well, let's keep moving on. And I'll rearrange all these guys here. So looking at keepers, so I walked through my defense. Keepers, since I've got Inter Miami filled up here, the other clean sheet I like from an early standpoint, maybe NYCFC. Is it a great option? No, I'll keep an eye on lineups, but it's a start for the week. I'll put Freese on. And then I've got Fry on the back end, as I'm not a huge fan of clean sheets for Charlotte or LA Galaxy. All right, so one guy left. Pretty straightforward week this week, pretty chalky. So looking for a couple of differentials. All right, so let's just throw a midfielder on, and we can get the team organized, and then look at who might make sense. Just chuck on Santi. Yeah, I don't have enough money for him. All right, so let's move some guys around. I don't know if you guys do this, but all right, so at least let me get my keeper set up. So Freese on the front end, early game on the bench. If he fails, we got Fry coming in strong. So I like to work from left to right. It just helps me keep organized in terms of timing. So let me get Gressel on the bench. And again, like I said, I don't know why they switched him up. But left to right, we've got Atlanta. So Atlanta's first. So therefore Gressel first on the left, and then Miami. So we got Gressel. And then up top, this looks pretty straightforward. So does Santos with the 8:30 game, and then Roldan and Nuhu. If both of these guys hit, I'll scrub them both out. And then if Freeze hits, I'll scrub out Fry. All right, so let's reorganize my midfield. So with the earliest game, we've got Almada. And again, this just helps me keep organized. No idea if it's helpful. And then up next, we've got Bossy, I believe, as I'll probably be switching out whoever my last guy is. So let's chuck him on. And then I'll just put on, I can't do a Miami guy. Let's just keep someone else on random. And then Puig and Paintsel with the late games. And then I like Suarez on the bench. I'm not too sure about him. Jovic and Messi are locks. So if Suarez hits, I'll scrub out this midfielder. And yes, let me move out. Who do I like? All right, so let's look at this. So Suarez is a 7:30 game. So if I need to know if his score is good enough to swap out the guy on the field. So Colorado's cutting it close. Hopefully I'll know if I want to keep Suarez or not early enough. So I may look at a Colorado defender. I'm not a huge fan of the Los Angeles or Sounders midfielders or Charlotte. Of course, I'm looking at home guys here. So I'll put on Georgie Mihailovic. And that's my last guy. All right. Oops. All right, so that's the squad right now for the week. Just walking you guys through again. And thank you for the comments. I will address those in a second. And also, of course, Mr. Messi gets the captain's band. All right, so Freeze with the front end going into Fry. I've got Lennon and Gressel on the bench. Yes, they're expensive and known to be good, but they can also flop. So if both of them hit, I'll scrub these two. Dos Santos, I'm banking on a clean sheet. They're playing Austin, and he can generate some bonus points as well. Not a great showing last week, but still pretty confident in them. Almada crushed it last week. Turned things on. Bossy, I like. They're playing Austin. He's on PKs. He's their chance creator. He's on set pieces. I like him this week. Mihailovic is my fallback. If Suarez hits, not a huge fan of that fallback, so I may still do some tinkering. And then Puig, Paintsel, easy locks this week. Messi, easy lock this week. Jovic, a lock as well. And then Suarez, I like as, an early forward since Miami are playing Nashville. Depending on lineups, if lineups don't look great, maybe I'll pivot to a Joseph Martinez, Bernadeschi. No idea. Those are bold picks. But yeah, probably going to be keeping it to these 7:30 games. All right, so let's look at some comments here. We got Charles. How much do I have to spend? Good question. I've got 137.4. Quick maths. Yeah, and that's another thing. So when I'm building my team, luckily I've got a decent budget. But I will just try to build it out without looking at my budget. I know the big red X will come up if you put on, too much and you got to make your fixes. But I like to plan it out just to see, what it would look like perfect, best case scenario. But that's sort of how I go out with my budget. All right, so that's that. Adrian, how do I change my formation? Good question. So it just depends on, what you want to go for. So I think when you clear out, hit this clear button. Let me save this. It'll set everything to a 4-4-2. But you can change that up. So if you want, 4 defenders, 4 midfielders, 2 forwards, all you have to do is just, click this circle button on your bench and then swap that out with a midfielder. So now I'm at a 4-4-2. And then I got a defender, a midfielder, and a forward on the bench. You can do the same. Say I want 3 strikers, only 3 defenders. The thing is, you always have to have 3 defenders. So I can't put Pencil on. You'll see it's grayed out for any of these guys. Or you could go 5 defenders. Oops. And another note, your team needs to be full and able to change up your formation. So I got Gressel. Also, it's being a bit laggy. Apologies. Yeah, it's messed up. All right. Let's see if this works. Yeah. So you see like the guys pop off the screen when you tap that button. Maybe you want a lot of defenders. Not a lot of midfielders. You can just keep changing it out. There's certain restrictions, as I said, but it's mainly just you have to have 3 defenders on the field. No worries. All right, let's see. Mr. Joe, do you think Evander is a viable option with his recent string of performances and Columbus facing a CCC match on Wednesday? That is a good question. Good question. All right, so let's look at my team again. Yeah, so I feel like it's just going to come down to lineups. So if Columbus, like last week, I saw Columbus's lineup against Real Salt Lake, after the game started, and definitely would have banked on starting, some Real Salt Lake players, especially defense. So if they have their starting defense in, I don't know. I feel like if anything, Evander is a bench play on the midfield. Because there is a chance that Columbus, I still feel they're one of the best teams in the MLS. And Evander is also one of the best midfielders, but they're away. If Portland was home, definitely would start him. Since they're away, I would just put him on the bench and definitely could easily see him slotting in. But I guess for my current lineup, I would replace Almada, but I feel like Almada is too much of a lock for me this week. And as well with Bossy. Yeah. Let's see, what else could I do? If I wanted... See, now Joe, you're making me think, do I want Evander? Because he's looking so good. All right, let's swap out Bossy and Suarez. All right, so let's put in Evander. And we'd want a late forward. But that's the thing. I'm not going to want to scrub Mr. Joveljic. This is going to turn into Bossy. How much do I got? 10 mil for a striker. Let's see. 10 mil for a striker that I'll want with a late game. Vander hits, scrub him. Ooh. See, I might like this. Thank you, Joe, for the comment. Because I wasn't a fan of Mihailovic anyways. Vander, a much better look. And then if he hits, I'll just scrub the forward. But he's the early game. I'm not a big fan of Mr. Denny Buanga. Because they've been struggling. The Red Bull defense isn't too bad. And then Mr. Rui Diaz, I can't because I got a stack here. And I feel like Rui Diaz is a bit of a stretch. I mean, he's on PKs, but it's a tough one. All right, let's do this. Let's go crazy. Let's replace Nuhu with Bombito. And then we're going to put in Mr. Rui Diaz. So yeah, I like that. I like it. It's a good look, Joe. Let's see if I end up keeping that or I go back to it. I do like Evander, I'm more confident in than Suarez. So I feel like depending on Miami matchups or lineups, if it's looking strong with, Messi and friends, I'll probably stick with Suarez. If it's not looking too strong, I might go with Evander on the bench there. Beautiful. All right. Thank you, Joe. And yeah, good point about the Dynamo defenders. Maybe I start two. Do I start two? Do I dare start two Dynamo defenders? I do not know. I just still like Lennon and Gressel. It's an easy swap for the late games there. Not sure how many Dynamo defenders you guys are looking at. And then Charles, points for bench players. Yeah, so good question. So I do recommend, if you haven't watched, I've got a couple of videos up on my advanced MLS Fantasy Tactics playlist. So I got like the keeperoo, the auto-roo, and the switcheroo explained. So that'll go into more detail in about 4 to 5 minutes. But I can give you a quick overview now. So basically, all these guys on the bench, they're the early games. So you get a preview into what their score is going to look like, and then you can make that decision. So like Lennon and Gressel will be done before the 10:30 games where Roldan and this was Nuhu would start. And then I can say, okay, I want to keep Gressel, so I'll put in a cheap Union guy, and his score will automatically auto-roo or switcheroo in when the game week ends. So it's a really cool part of the MLS fantasy game. In a way you can maximize the most points, so you're not just hoping for the best with your field players, but you're utilizing that bench to get the most points as possible. All right, so yeah, that is my team for the week. Thanks, Joe, again for the shout on Evander. Yeah, I hope this was helpful. I'll try to do it again next week. Every week is different, so you got different processes. I usually go through the same flow. But yeah, if tournaments are going on, if there's a double game week, I'll walk through all those different scenarios. Yeah, this was really cool. Thanks everyone for the comments, and I'll see you Friday when I upload my team reveal after some tinkering that I'm sure is going to take place over the next couple of days. One more question. Thanks, Charles. Team do I support? You will see here. I'm a Union fan, dupe. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon.